What are you worth to you? In many cultures, women are looked at as inferior, and that they're worth even less than a dog in some cultures. Women are sold and bought on the black market as though they are a piece of meat. After a certain age, a woman is looked at as not desirable, which is completely different for a man because after a man reaches a certain age, he's considered a silver fox. But not for a woman, and that she should therefore be put out to pasture, which is an old term. Now, I read a book about this lady who was speaking about her life experiences, and let's just call this lady Lady Rose. Now, Lady Rose had the typical childhood, but things changed when she was 15. Her father got sick, and her mother asked her to leave school so that she could go to work, because her mother had to take care of her baby sister and her sick father. Rose wasn't happy about the idea because, she was about to graduate and she was really good at school. Nevertheless, she quit school upon her mother's request and went to work at a local factory. The work was tough, but she learned to love it. When she was 18, her mother told her that she needed to hurry up and get married because, quote unquote, she was getting old and men don't want to marry old women. Yeah, that's crazy to me to even hear this, but she went out with a man that was picked for her by her mother. This guy checked all the boxes for her mom, but deep inside, Rose knew that there was something wrong with him. Now, 2 years into their marriage, his drinking became worse, and around that time, she was about to have their first child. Now, because she was pregnant, he didn't want to touch her, so he slept around quite a bit, and when she found out, he said, "What do you expect? You're so fat and ugly. If you know what's good for you, you leave me be." Whoa. After having the baby, she thought everything would go back to normal, but he never touched her again. After a few more years of this verbal, emotional, and physical abuse, he decided to leave her for, quote unquote, a younger model. So now she was a high school dropout, a young divorcee, and to top it off, she had a young child to take care of on her own. The only place she could think of going was back to her parents' house. When she moved back home, her mother told her she must have been the reason why he left. He was probably right for hitting her. Like, who says that? Because she heard this, she wanted to see if she was actually the problem, so she started dating again and got with a man who fit the bill. He was so charming and nice. He couldn't get enough of her, she said, which made her feel wanted. If she was the problem, that wouldn't have happened, right? After a few years of living with her new husband, she realized that he started drinking and smoking a lot. After asking him about this, he got infuriated and swung at her. "Mind your business," he said. The thought of what her mother said came right back up in her mind, and she started thinking that maybe she was the issue after all. For the years to come, he cheated on her several times. With the woman who delivered the mail, the neighbor, and even women in town who owned their own stores. She didn't want to face the shame of going back home after a second failed marriage, so she stayed and endured the shame and torture. Now, he was diagnosed with cancer in the midst of all of this, and even though he was cruel, no one was there to look after him, so she stayed and she did it. And after some time, he overcame the cancer. But his cheating, smoking, and drinking, not to mention the disrespect, they grew even worse. Alright? When she tried asking people for help, they laughed and said, "Nah, can't be. He's so nice. You're making all of this up in your head. Besides, this is what marriage is about, sticking through the tough times. It will get better." But it never did. She decided maybe her mother was right. Maybe she was the problem. She got sick and found out she had breast cancer. After she told him the news, he said, "You better find somebody to look after you. because I'm not doing that. She ended up having a mastectomy, and he was repulsed by her. He would mock her and say that she looked like a freak because she didn't have any breasts. While she was healing, he would invite women over to their house who had big breasts and who would deliberately not wear any bra. And even though she was in the same room, they had no respect for her. Their conversation were so raunchy and disgusting. After healing, she developed a smoking habit, which she credited to the fact that those women he hung around smoked and looked so beautiful as they smoked, and she wanted to look beautiful as well, even though she knew it wasn't a good habit. He eventually left her for a younger woman. She said he had a silver tongue. He could charm anybody into believing whatever he wanted them to believe. And before he left, he turned her child against her. After a year of being with the other woman, he came back to her and said he was sorry and didn't know why he did and said all those things over the years. She said his cancer had come back, and the doctor only gave him a few months to live, and the girl he left her for, when she found out he was sick, she sent him back to Rose. He died before the time the doctor estimated, and that rift he made between her and her child remains to this day. Now, what are you worth to you? If you can't answer this question honestly, then just like Rose, you will fall prey to being stereotyped into doing things you know you don't want to do, sacrificing parts of you that you know they have no right to demand of you, not listening to your gut feeling about the situation you're presented with, which will lead to a heap of problems, and believing all the lies you're fed by either family members, friends, or lovers. Because we are all creatures of habit. You will gravitate to a similar situation, just like she did with those two men. At the end of it all, you need to sit and ask yourself, what are you worth to you? Because if you don't figure this question out, most likely you will constantly repeat the same cycle over and over again. Lady Rose thought this was the best that she could do. And the advice from the only woman figure, her mother, wasn't any help at all. Though some people are family, they don't always have your best interests at heart. Most of the times, they're just trying to save face. Like, if he's a good provider, this is all they will see. If he's a good father, this is all they will see, and turn a blind eye to everything else. The Bible said the prodigal son was about to eat out of the trough of the pigs, and then he came to himself. Your worth is not based on other people's perspective of you, but based on your perspective of you. When you are truly honest and have determined what you are worth to you, just like the prodigal son, you will pull yourself together, no matter how hard that situation may be, and decide to make a change. Remember, you are worth more than silver or gold. The Father in heaven regards you, his human creation, over everything else on earth. You are worth more than this situation that you are in. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and smush that bell notification button so you can get more videos from me. All right, see you guys in the next one. Later.